Big show on the docket for today. We have Max Heart winners, title changes, first wins secured, challenges made, and that's all just from the Max Heart finals. We'll also chat Shoko Nakajima's homecoming show and chapter pause, preview Final Curtain and Yuki Aino's homecoming. Grand Princess has gotten iconic, and a very happy birthday to Yuki Kamifuku. All that and more coming up on the Tokyo Joshi Pod. Stay tuned. Hello to all you big children out there. Konnichiwa and welcome to the Tokyo Joshi Pod, your weekly dose of everything TJPW. I'm your host Andy Zeich, and we have a monstrous show on tap for today. The Max Heart finals are in the books, and history was made as the current Princess Tag Team Champions won the tournament for the very first time. There's also been a little bit of hot potato with the Iron Man title, a few important and, should we say, iconic updates for Grand Princess. That was a little nerdy. A couple of homecoming shows are also on the docket to discuss today, and we have some news and some updates around excursions. With so much to get into, let's waste a little time jumping in. I hope you're all well. I hope you had a lovely Valentine's Day, a Lunar New Year, President's Day weekend. I think Ramadan is starting up soon. Whatever holidays that you may partake in, I hope you really enjoyed them. We are right in the thick of a very, very exciting time for TJPW with so much still to come. Let's go ahead and kick things off by talking about the news of the week. We have a few updates as it relates to Grand Princess 2-6. As we know, we have a tag team match scheduled, a special tag team match between Yuka Sakazaki and her husband / tag team partner for this show, Konosuke Takeshita. Those two are going to be taking on Super Sasadongo Machine and Hyper Misao. The really curious pairing there. We also know our main event, the Princess of Princess title, in its V5 defense for Miyu Watanabe. Watanabe will be taking on Yuki Arai in a first-time singles matchup. Well, we now know the matchups for our other two championships. In her second defense of the International Princess title, Mirai will be taking on former tag team partner from a number of years ago, Suzume. So we will see the B-Star teammates square off. B-Star was a very short-lived tag team years ago now in TJPW, back when Suzume kind of first debuted, obviously before Mirai left the company. I also want to note that Mirai and Suzume have actually faced off once before, all the way back in 2019, so pre-COVID era. Mirai won that match, so Mirai does have a slight advantage over Suzume, but obviously, both of these competitors are very, very different since 2019. As a team, as B-Star, they actually also have two Princess Tag title challenges to their name as well. So a lot of history between these two, both as a team, a little bit as opponents. Mirai had nominated Suzume after the Max Heart Finals event. We'll talk a little bit about that once we get into our show reviews, but this is going to be a really interesting matchup. It seems that both of these women are really keen on facing one another, especially after all this time has passed. So what a fun matchup that we have for the International Princess title. In addition to that, we also know the Princess Tag Team title matchup. In their fourth defense of the tag titles, Uber Eats, our current champions, are taking on an outsider duo, a duo from, well, I was going to say America, but I guess technically they are Australian by way of America. The Inspiration, formerly known as the Iconics back in WWE around, I want to say like 2019, 2018, somewhere in there they were in WWE. They eventually went on to wrestle in TNA for a little bit. I also think both of them took a wrestling hiatus due to like pregnancy and motherhood and starting a family. So they are hard workers. They are full-time mothers. They are full-time family women, and they are out there kicking butt. I think most recently they were wrestling in TNA. They might still be. But the inspiration are former WWE Tag Team Champions. They are former TNA Knockout Tag Team Champions. So these two are going to make their way over to Japan. It is their first time in TJPW. I'm not sure if it's their first time wrestling in Japan, but they've changed names over the course of time. There's Jessie and Cassie, I think, are currently what they go by. Jessica McKay and Cassie Lee, I think, is what they are. But Peyton Royce, Cassie was Peyton Royce at one point, and Jessica McKay, I think, was Billy something or other. I should probably have researched this a little bit more, but I know them as the Iconics / the Inspiration. This feeds into the narrative and the comments that Yuki Kamifuku made after her team won the Max Heart Finals, which we'll talk about that show in just a little bit. But essentially, Kamiyu was looking for someone who was a team that was viral, that was global, that was sexy, that could come in and, kind of almost have this aura that was greater than Uber Eats. Well, certainly think that they have found someone here, or two people here, I should say. The last note I want to make for Grand Princess, not necessarily a match announcement, but Minimo-chan, the mascot for the idol subunit Mini Mochi, has held an open workout back on February 16th, and Minimo-chan invited Mihiro Kiryu to demonstrate their new finishing maneuver. I don't think Mihiro quite knew what she was getting into when she showed up at the dojo for Minimo-chan, but Minimo-chan debuted their new finishing move. They are calling it Drink Delicious Milk Peon Kick. I don't really know a lot of the insider baseball for what that all means. I know that Minimo-chan uses the exclamation peon quite a bit. I don't know where the milk falls in. I'll have to read more about that. But this is a short video that has been posted on TJPW's YouTube channel. It's only 4 or 5 minutes. So if you want to go and check out what this move looks like, it's basically some sort of a side kick. So it's a pretty powerful maneuver. Mihiro was feeling it quite a bit after it was delivered to her. So we don't know how Minimo-chan is going to factor into into Grand Princess just yet. But all of this is coming about because Minimo-chan was announced back on January 4th, and then Super Sasadango Machine, who has been tasking different wrestlers and staff members with certain tasks leading up to Grand Princess, has tasked Minimo-chan with developing a finishing move. So this whole kind of video and circumstance here is built around that assignment from Super Sasadango Machine. Still so much to come for Grand Princess. There are a lot of special guest announcements, and who we don't know what they're going to be doing yet match-wise. So I'm sure in the coming days and weeks, Grand Princess news is going to heat up real quickly. We are 5-ish weeks away now, so it's going to be here before we know it. Also in the news, TJPW has announced, hot on the heels of them leaving their current tour with TJPW, TJPW has announced that Max the Impaler will be returning. We know that Max is announced for Grand Princess. We don't know quite what they're going to be doing just yet, but we now know that Max is actually going to stick around a little while after Grand Princess. They will be on the April 4th show. That's the Mifu Ishida Homecoming show. They will also be on the April 5th show, which is the Miyu Yamashita Homecoming show, and then a third show, April 8th. So we'll get a little bit more Max after Grand Princess. I would expect to see Max quite a bit more throughout the year. It's always a delight to see them. Max had a really good run in this year's Max Heart tournament alongside Palm. And just their interactions with a lot of the TJPW women. Obviously, Max, very different style of competitor, but somehow or other, the chemistry just works. The chemistry works with Palm. It works with smaller opponents like the Uda Takamis of the world. We'll get into a match that Max and Palm had with Daisy Monkey that was a lot of fun, but always a delight to see Max. Glad that they're going to be sticking around a little longer after Grand Princess. We also have some inspiration updates from TJPW. This is the show that will be taking place back in Japan during WrestleMania weekend on Saturday, April 18th. TJPW has announced the roster for this inspiration show, at least the TJPW wrestlers that will be taking part: Rika Tatsumi, Haru Kazushiro, Ren Kanatsu, Mifu Ishida, Mihiro Kiryu, Kira Summer, Arisu Endo, Chika Nanase, and Shion Kanzaki. In addition to those women, there will be 2 or 3 guest wrestlers as well. This is right in line with what we expect, a smaller roster of about 9 or so competitors here, probably closer to 10 to 12 when you add in the guest wrestlers. All of these ladies that I just mentioned are not going to Vancouver the weekend before, so nothing here is surprising. Quite a few of them are actually on the Gaisen show that is taking place the same day as one of the Vancouver shows, but back in Japan. So no surprises here in terms of the names that we see here. There's a couple of absences. I think Yuki Aino, and then I want to say Mizuki is on the Gaisen show. Mizuki might be going to Vancouver now that I think about it, but I know for a fact that Aino is on the Gaisen show and then is not listed here for inspiration. So, I'm kind of leading the witness here towards Vegas discussion. We still don't know what's happening yet with TJPW in Vegas beyond some of the individual talent announcements that have come out. But I'm certainly keeping my ear to the ground because, like I've said on previous episodes, I do think that there is more to come for TJPW in Las Vegas, whether it is talent announcements or show announcement or something. I think we have more to look forward to, and kind of seeing this puzzle get put together, there is that little bit of a conspicuous absence for some talent. So without getting too far down that, rumor and innuendo pathway, Inspiration, April 18th. These shows are always a heck of a lot of fun. They're kind of like out of canon, out of mainline TGPW storylines. So looking forward to this Inspiration show. In other news, TJPW has also announced that they are holding auditions currently between now and February 28th. Typically, TJPW just has like an open auditions process. So, like, if at any given point in the calendar year you are someone who wanted to apply for training and apply to become a wrestler, they accept applications throughout the entire year. But they made this announcement in particular mostly because they want to start aligning debuts as much as possible. That's what was mentioned in some of the materials around this announcement. That makes sense. As we know, for 2026, we only have one new debutee so far in Shion Kanzaki. There are still 2 other trainees, Yuka and Anri, who did not obviously debut alongside Shion. So it sounds like they're trying to just kind of align a lot of the debuts. Of course, we go back to last year as well, 2025. Ren Kanatsu was our only debutee, so it makes sense here where they want to start bringing people in, kind of similar to 2023, 2024, where there was a handful of women making their debut all around the same time, within the same like 2 to 3 month range. And then just briefly, the last thing I would like to mention here in the news is that on Friday, February 20th, the day that this episode will release, Yuki Kamifuku will be celebrating her 33rd birthday. So a very happy birthday to Kamiyu, to the current Princess Tag Team Champion, one half of the Princess Tag Team Champions in Uber Eats, Yuki Kamifuku. Hope she has a lovely birthday celebration and a lovely weekend. I'm sure she'll be spending it quite a bit with Zach, her dog. If you don't follow Yuki on social media, mostly she posts a lot on X, and then she also has a YouTube channel as well. And on her YouTube channel, she'll do a lot of live streams. She'll do some recently she's been doing like vlogs and cooking content as well. She's a really good follow, and she features Zach a lot. That's where I was going with that. And as a dog person myself, as a dog owner, always love to see Zach. So a very, very happy birthday to Yuki Kamifuku. Now we have 3 shows to review today. The Shoko Nakajima Homecoming show, which happened a little bit ago, but it was just posted to Wrestle Universe after I recorded last week's episode. So we'll talk in detail about Shoko Nakajima's Homecoming. Then we've got the Max Heart Finals show to talk about, and then we also have Chapter Pause as well. So with so many shows to get through, I'm going to try to keep my notes on the matches relatively brief and really only talk about some of the bigger, more impactful matches as it relates to like titles and the tournament and whatnot. And then anything that maybe contextually makes sense looking forward to Grand Princess or any additional shows like that. So let us kick off talking about Shoko Nakajima's homecoming show titled Shoko Quest 4: Those Guided by the Snow Country. This show went down on Wednesday, February 11th, from the Duo Serizo in Niigata. This is basically like a ballroom, kind of like a ballroom where you'd hold like a wedding in or something like that. This was video on demand, and the show came in at just a little bit over 2 hours, about 2 hours, 20 minutes. Kaya Toribami was absent for this one. She was nursing that foot injury. She did eventually make her return on the next show, the Max Heart Finals. So this was the last show that had Kaya absent due to injury. Attendance at this event was 215, and the last time that TJPW was at the Duo Serizo was actually quite a while ago. It was back in August of 2024, so about 2-ish years or so, maybe about a year and a half more like it, where they drew 222. That August 24 show was also a Shoko Nakajima homecoming show. That's like the general theme for when they run this venue in Niigata. So attendance a little bit smaller than that 222 number from a few years ago, but different time of year. So maybe, weather has some sort of an effect. You're talking summer versus winter months. But it's really, we're also talking maybe 7 additional people. So it's nothing too crazy. It's still within the same realm of the attendance. We opened up with Rise Shirai's remarks and house rules, and then this event actually featured an appearance from Grand Princess PR Ambassador, Super Sasadango Machine. And his first order of business was to address the Tokusatsu Club's Super Sentai Hero request. If you remember from a couple of weeks ago, the Tojo Tokusatsu Club, Yuki Aino, Shoko Nakajima, and Haru Kazushiro basically put out this request to the powers that be that they would like to have a Super Sentai hero either in their corner or accompany them at Grand Princess 2-6. Well, Super Sasadango Machine was there to say that Cyberfight is hard at work on it, although it is a bit of a tough task to make a collab like that happen. But Cyberfight is hard at work at it, and that the Tokusatsu Club just must continue training hard, win their match that day. In addition to that Tokusatsu address, he also made a request of Tetsuya Koda. We know that Sasadango has previously requested Koda to find someone to make their wrestling debut at Grand Princess who is of like a celebrity stature, someone who can fill out Sumo Hall all on their own. So essentially his second order of business here was to ask Koda for an update about his task, and Koda basically said that he did not have an update, that he was really struggling with this task. Sasadango also really drew these lines in the sand here to say that, hey, if we're able to get a Super Sentai hero, that doesn't count. That's not, this has to be somebody different. So Koda has made no progress, and Super Sasadango Machine was none too happy. He pretended to smack him across the head, and at one point they actually teased canceling Grand Princess as well. He was like, well, we might as well just cancel at this point. And Koda was like, no, we can't do that. So Koda's got quite the mountain ahead of him to climb as he looks for this celebrity guest. We rounded out the opening with, of course, the Up girls. They came out and sang Kawatsuyo Challenger. And then we dove into the action with a singles contest between Arisu Endo and Shion Kanzaki. Not too much to say about this match. Arisu was mostly in control, which is probably as to be expected. Shion did have some nice brief moments of offense, but Arisu was never going to lose this match. Arisu ends up submitting Shion with a camel clutch in 6 minutes and 41 seconds. We had a second singles match after that one with Suzume taking on Mifu Ishida. You'd really think that I would recognize Mifu Ishida's entrance by now, but nope, I don't. Every time it comes on, I still have no idea whose music it is. Then I'm like, oh, right, Mifu Ishida. So I need to work on that. But this match started off with Suzume in control. Mifu then started doing a little bit of cheering, and I think it had something to do with Valentine's Day, since this show was just a few days before Valentine's Day. That cheering allowed Mifu to take just a little bit of brief control of the match. She actually got in a bit more offense than I anticipated that she would in this match, but ultimately Suzume does pin her after a ring-a-bell in 7 minutes and 25 seconds. Next up, we had a little bit more of an eventful match. We had a three-way matchup for the DDT Ironman title. Current champion Mihiro Kiryu was defending against Miyu Yamashita and Raku. As Yamashita was making her way out to the ring, Raku and Mihiro, who had entered prior, were actually kind of having a little bit of a meeting of the minds in the corner. Raku was whispering something in Mihiro's ear, and it turns out that they were trying to form a strategy against the leader. They ended up teaming up to ambush Yamashita. She tried fighting back, but wasn't any match for Raku's Papo Chops and the Oyasumi Express. And then after hitting that Oyasumi Express, Raku decided to turn on Mihiro. She tried rolling her up, and of course, that sets Mihiro off. She then tries to form an alliance with Yamashita instead, since she was just double-crossed. Yamashita basically says, hell no, you just tried to form an alliance against me. Why would I align with you now? So Mihiro ends up apologizing to Yamashita. That's our apology spot for the match. And then they do end up forming a very brief alliance, but not before Mihiro turns on Yamashita. And this whole saga is quite comical that Kiso was our referee here. Kiso was in the ring kind of chuckling at everything that was going down. Yamashita then kicks Mihiro into next week repeatedly, and Raku tries forming an alliance with Yamashita at this point. Mihiro is able to fight her way back, and eventually we just get every woman for themselves. Yamashita quickly gains control in that scenario, pins Mihiro after delivering a skull kick in 7 minutes and 55 seconds. And because she pins Mihiro, Yamashita then wins the DDT Ironman title. She becomes the 1,801st champion. After the match was over, Raku did have a think about having a go against Yamashita, but wisely she decided to retreat, instead live to fight another day. That all said, the Ironman title saga is not over for the day, because later on, at the fan event that took place after this event, there was a stopwatch game. So basically, all of the ladies had a stopwatch and they had to stop the clock as close to 10 minutes as possible. And I guess it was like Yahtzee rules, like you couldn't go over. So anybody that was as close to 10 minutes without going over won this mini game that they were playing. Because Yamashita was involved, that meant that the Ironman title was also on the line in this mini game, and the person who got the closest to actually 10 seconds. Sorry, I think I said 10 minutes. That would have been a really long stopwatch game. 10 seconds. The closest to 10 seconds without going over. The person that got the closest was ring announcer Rise Shirai. So Rise Shirai won the Ironman title, becoming the 1,802nd champion. She was so giddy about that too, but still not done yet. Even later in the fan event coincided with the same day as Shion Kanzaki's birthday. So they did this really nice thing where they were bringing her a cake and they were all singing happy birthday. And then Rise, as the kind of the ring announcer MC of TJPW, giving some remarks to close everybody out. But while she was giving those remarks, Mihiro snuck up behind her and choked her out with one of the stopwatches. Rise, of course, not being a wrestler, tapped out immediately, and we have a new champion, not Mihiro Kiryu, however. The referee that was present made the executive decision to award the championship to the stopwatch. So the stopwatch becomes the 1,803rd champion. The crowd at this fan event was so into this, they were chanting for the stopwatch. Mihiro, very flustered, runs out of the ballroom, ends up pinning the stopwatch, wins back her Ironman title, the 1,804th champion. So Mihiro, really long journey for the day, but does end the day with her Ironman title. Back to the action earlier in the day now, we saw a tag team match between Pom Paler taking on Hyper Misao and Chika Nanase, and before Pom Paler can even make their entrance, Misao grabbed the microphone, says that she is putting herself through some self-imposed trial matches before Grand Princess 2-6, and today marks the start of that against a very tough team in Pom Paler, and also her very first time teaming with Chika Nanase. It's almost like a 2-for-1 trial. Well, of course it's Misao, so she has a plan here. She ends up calling out Super Sasadongo Machine, who brings out this local dessert, because apparently Max enjoys sweets. So the plan is for Sasadango Machine to distract Max with this dessert. The dessert was called Sasadango, while Chika and Misao then grab Palm and kind of deliver this, quote, instant kill. Not a terrible strategy, I have to admit. Palm Paler enter. Misao then grabs the mic one more time, and here comes Sasadango Machine with that dessert. They end up giving it to Max as a present. Misao and Chika ambush Palm, so the plan is going perfectly according to plan. They toss her at Max, but Max is able to catch Palm, throws her back at everybody. Misao and Chika end up ducking, so only Super Sasadango Machine is taken out by a flying Palm. As the match gets started, Misao and Chika, of course, then start out in control of Palm because she's dazed from being tossed all around before the match even began. Max is able to find their way in, but Misao surprisingly gets the best of them. Chika tries her hand, can't quite measure up power-wise against Max, but it is really interesting to see like a power fighter like Chika next to Max and just see that size disparity. Chika attempts to lock in an Inari Tori on Max. Obviously, that did not go well. Max counters it with a really nasty-looking spear. Max then tries to toss Palm from the top rope, but Misao is right there to blind them with the cold spray. They do end up tossing Palm, but they toss Palm onto nobody since they can't see where they're throwing her. And then Misao is able to connect with the I Am a Hero dive onto Max. Despite all that, Chika still can't take advantage. One Lafere Harajuku cannonball later, and Max is able to pin Chika with a really strong lariat in 8 minutes and 10 seconds. Immediately afterwards, Max has taken one of Chika's scrunchies, adding it to their collection on their waistband. Following that jaunt into the wasteland, we saw another tag match. Daydream faced off against Sarah Phoenix and Kira Summer. Watanabe and Tatsumi started this one out, really getting the best of Kira. Miyu using a lot of her power, Rika, of course, using more of her trickery style. Kira evades a really nice looking, has a nice evasion to this double elbow drop from Daydream, tags in Sarah Phoenix, who has a really nice exchange with Watanabe. Sarah and Kira are able to stay on the attack against Rika for quite a prolonged stretch, and Rika and Sarah also work quite well together too. Really good stuff from Sarah Phoenix in this excursion that she's having with TJPW. Things break down a little bit in this one. Daydream is able to get quick control, and Rika ends up pinning Kira with the Twist of Fate in 11 minutes and 44 seconds. This was like oddly put together. It was a very slow match at first, and then just like ridiculously fast they went to the finish. So I wonder if they were like a little short on time or something, or maybe, I don't know, maybe they realized that they were moving slow, but it was a little bit like unbalanced in that sense. But it didn't take away from the match, it just the pacing was a little off. After this match is over, we got another Sasadango Machine appearance, and he has a task for Tatsumi. He came out, he basically asked her to define he asked her what her defining wrestling trait is. And Tatsumi said, well, it's very obvious, I'm a classic idol wrestler. And Sasadango Machine responded by saying, not at all, that is wildly off base. Your trait is madness. And when he was saying this, he ended up pulling up a picture of her choking out Mihiro Kiryu, which was kind of funny. They argued back and forth for a little bit about her tactics, what is acceptable in pro wrestling. At one point, he actually called her a psychopath, which she was took a lot of offense to. She refused that title. He ended by basically telling her to refine her madness in order to fire up Ryogoku. Her and Watanabe had no idea what that meant, but Miyu said that she's looking forward to seeing which Rika appears at Grand Princess, whether it is the supposed classic idol wrestler or the psychopath. And it's worth noting that Miyu loved every bit of this. She was cracking up the entire time that Sasadango and Tatsumi were going back and forth. This is a wild task, so we will have to see just what this entails in the lead up to Grand Princess. Rika is a wild card a lot of the times, so I am cautiously looking forward to what we might have in store here. In our semifinal for this show, we had a 6-woman tag. Mizuki and Uda Takami teamed up with Shino Suzuki to take on Ober Eats and Ren Kanatsu. Now, this was a preview tag for the Max Heart Finals. Mizuki's team started off on the early advantage. Shino was able to give her tour spot to Ren. Ren eventually able to overcome Uda, and the Uber Eats team really kind of takes it to Uda. That was their strategy heading into this match, I suppose, but then also the Max Heart finals as well. So maybe they were testing out their strategy here a little bit. Uda and Kamiyu have a nice back and forth. Uda's using her speed to kind of outmaneuver Kamiyu. She tags in Shino, but Shino very quickly loses the advantage for her team. She's able to get Mizuki, though, in there pretty quickly, and it takes all three ladies, Uber Eats and Ren Kanatsu, to outpower Mizuki. Wakana is able to lock in the banana pillow, but that is quickly countered into a crossface. Uda and Ren then tag in for their respective teams. They have a pretty nice exchange, too. I think Ren is someone who's making a lot of strides in her wrestling lately, having only been doing it for about 8 months or so. Things break down, it's a 6-woman tag, but we eventually find our way back to Uda and Ren once more. Ren eventually taps out to the koala clutch in 12 minutes and 6 seconds. So Uda, picking up the win here in this preview match, has a little bit of a momentum for her team heading into the Max Heart finals, I should say. We also got a couple of backstage comments for this one. Kamiyu, surprisingly, pretty reserved and reflective about their loss. She was preaching a lot of togetherness, realism of the tough task that they have ahead against Mizuki and Uda. And then on the flip side of it, Mizuki had a lot of praise for Uda. And then Uda also mentioned that she feels that they proved to Uber Eats in this preview match that they are to be taken seriously. They are not to be glossed over because they are a thrown together team or because of their size or anything like that. And then in the main event of this show, of course, it was Shoko Nakajima's homecoming. So we saw a 6-woman tag where Shoko Nakajima teamed up with Prism Greed. So the Tojo Tokusatsu Club are back together here again. They took on the team of Yuki Arai, Himawari, and Toga. Shoko starts out with Toga. They quickly give way to Aino and Arai, and then we see our resident nerds try to do their combination move in the corner. This is them kind of channeling their Super Sentai heroes. Again, think like Super Sentai and Power Rangers, more or less the same thing for different areas of the world. And you know how the Power Rangers like to combine into this giant mechanical robot T-Rex, whatever it is. So that's more or less what they're trying to do here. They've never been able to hit this, and surprisingly, maybe unsurprisingly, they also can't hit it here. Haru, for some reason, is always the bottom of this, and she just can't lift up both Shoko and Aino. Well, this really ticked off Shoko. Shoko was screaming at her, so Shoko was like, I can do this. Let me be the bottom of the pile. No dice. Shoko also can't do it, but the crowd is really chanting for her since it is her hometown. So she's like, you know what? Let me give it one more time. The power of Niigata is behind me. Nope. Tower collapses again. Himawari then comes in, faces off with Haru a little bit, Aino a little bit. She has some really good chemistry with Haru, I have to say. Toga and Aino also have another power exchange between the two of them. Really nice power exchange. Arai and Shoko have a little bit of time together here in this match. Arai, using a lot of her size to outpower Shoko, ends up locking her in a Scorpion Deathlock. Ultimately, though, we find ourselves down to Shoko and Himawari. Shoko hits a Tope Suicida to Himawari on the outside, and then after an assist from both Haru and Aino, Shoko hits a diving senton, pins Himawari for the victory in 14 minutes and 46 seconds. Shoko takes the mic afterwards, addresses her hometown crowd, and she tells this really nice story from her childhood, how she met a group from a certain Super Sentai show despite this heavy snowfall. So she must have gone to some sort of an event and it was really snowing in Niigata that day, and this group or these actors from this show ended up still attending despite the weather, and she really cherishes that memory. And she's thinking now in the present day, this apparently has been a very heavy snowfall year for the Niigata region, and she wants everybody to be safe, of course. She also wants to kind of channel that story, but from the other side of it. She wants herself to be a similar hero to the people of Niigata. Shoko does give some brief backstage comments as well, just declaring that the Tokusatsu Club will melt the snow in Niigata. They are very eager to overcome their challenge from Super Sasadango with very hard work. A solid show overall. They kept it relevant by having Sasadango Machine make more than enough appearances here, checking in on challenges, issuing some new ones. As it relates to Shoko, you could tell she was very, very happy to return home for the first time in almost 2 years, or at least return home with TJPW for the first time in almost 2 years. Match wise, everything was solid, but I wouldn't say that anything is like a must see in a very, very busy week for TJPW. After this event, there was that fan meeting with a lot of party games. They played rock, paper, scissors, karaoke, the stopwatch game. They had that birthday celebration for Shion, which was really nice. And then this was the wedding dress fan event. So Mifu Ishida, Shoko, Haru Kazushiro, and Mizuki were all dressed in these like gorgeous looking wedding dresses. There's been a lot of pictures kind of circulating different social media. These ladies looked tremendous. They looked gorgeous in these dresses. Everybody really did because everybody kind of dressed for the occasion as well. So everybody was pretty stylish looking, but these four women in particular looked beautiful. Our second show to chat about on today's episode, the Max Heart Tournament Finals. Saturday, February 14th, Valentine's Day, live from Quirkwin Hall. This was live on both Wrestle Universe and on YouTube, although TJPW doesn't keep, when they go live on YouTube, they typically don't keep the recording up there. But they must just be like testing out, kind of giving away some semi-large shows for free to drive in some audience, to drive up the YouTube subscriber base. But really cool to see them test that out. This one, just a hair under 3 hours. We did have English commentary from Mr. Haku. He was joined by Kira Summer a little bit later on in the event, and no absences for this one. Kaya was able to successfully return from her foot injury. And then as it relates to the attendance here, TJPW drew a crowd of 732, which last time they were here was, of course, the Itinyon show where they drew over 1,500. So you look at that number and you're like, okay, well, there's half the amount of people that were there. Well, the one important like contextual thing to keep in mind, well, I guess two. The first thing, Itinyon is during that very popular time for people to visit Japan and attend wrestling shows. And of course, that's one of the biggest Quirkwin shows of the year, the biggest shows of the year, period. But the thing I was going to say was the attendance for this event, the 732 number, that's about in line with their non-Itinyon Quirkwin shows. So attendance-wise, yes, less than Itinyon, but more or less about the same of the other Quirkwin Hall shows. Rise Shirai, of course, opens us up with the remarks, the house rules. This was when we got the announcement for the open auditions that TJPW is holding. The Up Up Girls came out and they actually debuted a brand new song called Sugar High. And this was like very metal. It almost gave me like, is it Baby Metal? Is that the name of the idol group? The metal idol group, Baby Metal? I might be mistaken. But that's the kind of vibe that the song gave me, similar to that idol group. We then also got this really neat looking video package, not only of the full card for the event, but they went through the history of the Max Heart tournament. They showed all the previous winners. Thought that was just really well done, a really nice like table set for what was to come on this show. Our opening contest was a singles match between two rookies, Ren Kanatsu and Shion Kanzaki. Their first win for either of these competitors was on the line here. Ren took the early advantage working on the leg or the ankle of Shion. Shion was able to fight back using some like fairly basic offense, but Ren then hits a one-legged code breaker and then this like springboard drop kick, and Ren picks up the victory, her first career victory, at 5 minutes and 57 seconds. Both of these women have a lot of potential. It is early on in both of their careers. Shion's offense is very basic, but again, she's been doing this for like 6 weeks. Like, these women have so much potential, whether it relates to wrestling, charisma. Like, I'm really excited to kind of chart their growth over the next, I mean, even the next 6 months, but the next year or two, 5. I'm really curious to see maybe one of them will win the next gen tournament this year. We get very brief backstage comments for this one, and really the only thing I want to note is that Ren has named this springboard dropkick. She is calling it the Swan Dive Missile Kick. Next up, we have an 8-woman tag team match. Kick Slash teamed with the Bumping Gritters, and they took on the foursome of Hyper Misao, Kira Summer, Chika Nanase, and a returning Kakeru Sekaguchi, who is making her return to TJ from Year End Party. So only about 2 months. Year End Party was in December. So about 2 months since we last saw Kakaru. Her team enters carrying Valentine's chocolates. They all had different Valentine's chocolates, and they started this one out. Of course, Misao grabs the mic for her pre-match mic performance, and she wishes Happy Valentine's Day to all. Apparently, all of this chocolate is for Miyu Yamashita. All four offer up their chocolates to Yamashita. Basically, they were trying to say, like, okay, leader, we love you very much. We want to be in your debt. We want to be your favorite. And Yamashita responds, she says, I don't favor any one person. I love everybody equally. I am everybody's leader. Well, Misao's team didn't want that response. They just decided to say, to heck with this, and they just started beating up on Yamashita. Yamashita was able to fight back, tag in Shino, who gives us a tour of a future where everyone can receive Valentine's chocolates. Misao cuts her off, blaming Yamashita for her misfortune. She basically was like, no one's getting chocolates this year. Blame it on Miyu for poo-pooing this whole holiday, wanting to be everybody's Valentine. That's not how it works. So this match was so fast. It went a mile a minute because there was 8 women that all had to get their licks in. We saw a lot of quick tags, different combinations of ladies. In particular, Kaya Toribami and Kakaru had a really nice exchange. Kick Slash hit some double team moves on Misao, which led to a pretty nice exchange between Yamashita and Misao. Things really broke down towards the end, and Himawari actually was the one to come out on top. She hit the Sunflower Tempest on Chika for the win for her team, 7 minutes and 43 seconds. Really nice to see Himawari get a win. It's been a minute since we saw that. They crammed a lot into a 7-minute match here. It was like an absolute sprint, but again, a lot of talented ladies here. They all had to get their stuff in. Next up, we had a slight downgrade from an 8-woman tag to a 6-woman tag, but with the competitors that we had, wasn't a downgrade in the ring, I could tell you that. On one side of the corner, we had Raku, Palm Harajuku, and Max the Impaler. They took on Prism Greed, who were teaming with Ryo Mizunami. Mr. Haku mentioned on commentary that Haru is actually going to be graduating from high school next month. So I think that's really impressive because Haru is basically full-time with TJPW. I was going to say rarely misses shows, but I don't think she has missed a show as far as I know, at least not for schooling. So very impressive for her to juggle both of those things. There are so many relationships in this match as well. Raku and Palm, Palm and Max and Raku, Max and Yuki Aino. Like the relationships here were all over the place. And I bring that up because this match started out with Max trying to trade Raku for Aino at the beginning. And Raku was like so sad to be traded in this manner. Aniki ends up starting out. They don't go forward with the trade, of course. Aniki ends up stepping up to Max. She wants to start off the match, but Palm is the one that gets in between them, and she steps up to Aniki, which unsurprisingly does not go very well for Palm. She is tossed all around the ring, and she receives the machine gun chops from Ryo. Max does come in to save their tag team partner, though, put a stop to those machine gun chops. Their team clears the ring. Max throws Palm onto the opposing team outside of the ring. Raku and Aino then tag in, and Raku invites Aino for a nap. And you could hear like Aniki screaming. She's like, "No, Aino, Yuki, it's a trap. Don't do it." Of course it was. Raku tried pinning her, hits a chop, and the Oyasumi Express. Raku then has face-offs with both Ryo and Haru before tagging in Max. We finally get Max and Ryo going head-to-head, but really only just for a brief moment. Things start to break down a bit as Max and Palm miss the Lafare Harajuku cannonball. Prism Greed hits some really nice double-team offense on Palm, followed by some Yuki Niki double teams. Ryo manages to take out Max. Haru manages to take out Raku, leaving Aino alone in the ring with Palm. She hits a gut-wrench suplex and then the Venus DDT for the win at 11 minutes and 51 seconds. This was a nice mix of comedy and wrestling, basically 50-50. I think it could have used a little more Ryo and Max. That was something I was really excited to see going into this. Don't think we got quite enough of it. Who knows, maybe they're saving it for a bigger show down the line, like a Grand Princess. Max has been announced for Grand Princess, Ryo has not. But as we see with like the Iconics being announced, I don't think that really matters. But that's my one complaint about the match. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more Ryo and Max. Next up was our first of 2 title matches on the show. The Iron Man title was on the line, Mihiro Kiryu defending against Aja Kong. Mihiro was so ready for this that she ended up attacking before the bell, but of course, Aja Kong, the legendary Aja Kong, just a little bit too strong for that. Aja does miss her elbow drop though. Mihiro then apologizes as she says, Aja, you will not be going home with the belt today, and for that I am sorry. Well, Aja ends up taking control anyway with a lot of arm breakers, lariats. The crowd is really behind Mihiro for this one. Mihiro is able to hit a drop kick, which is surprising. We don't see that from her too often, but she misses her double knee drop from the corner. Aja goes for her tin can. Mihiro, in response, goes for the Iron Man title, and they kind of duel with their weapons a little bit, but Aja is able to hit Mihiro over the head with the can. Mihiro blocks a backdrop driver, ends up connecting with the double knees from the corner, only gets 2. Aja's able to fight her way back, successfully hit that backdrop driver at 6 minutes and 58 seconds to win, and become the 1,805th Iron Man champion. Afterwards, Aja was rubbing the win in Mihiro's face. Backstage, Mihiro gave some comments saying that she vows to get her belt back, and even later on in the event, she did try. Mihiro went into Aja Kong's dressing room, tried to trick her by using her double, Kakeru. Kakeru is always around Mihiro when they appear on the same show. Surprised they didn't tag together. But the two of them go and try to confuse Aja. Aja was able to successfully thwart off that attack, though. So at the end of the day here, Aja Kong is still the Iron Man champion. Up next, we had a traditional tag team match. Shoko Nakajima teamed up with Sarah Phoenix. Really fun team on paper. And they took on another very fun team, Daisy Monkey. I was really excited for this one. Nakajima and Suzume start us out. Would love to see that in a singles match. Side note. We also see a little bit of Arisu and Sarah. Those seem to kind of be the 2 main pairings for the match to start us off. Sarah does mix it up with Suzume, though, too, for some really great exchanges between them. At one point, Sarah hit this really cool twisting gutbuster. Things break down pretty early. Daisy Monkey hits some double team moves on both Shoko and Sarah. Haku put it best. No time to blink in this match, and there certainly wasn't. All 4 of these ladies were moving a mile a minute based on their wrestling styles. People were basically flying everywhere. Shoko hit a 619. Suzume hit a facebuster from the ropes. Sarah had this bridging regal suplex, which was really nice looking. Eventually, though, Suzume is able to hit the ring-a-bell on Sarah Phoenix, gets the win for her team in 9 minutes and 49 seconds. Those 9 minutes absolutely flew by. It did not feel like a 9-10 minute match. This was certainly, up to this point, match of the night. Hot on the heels of this one, we had another tag team match. Daydream took on the Kyoto tag of Mifu Ishida and Yuki Arai. This match carried a little bit of extra importance, not just because all 4 of these women are awesome that were in this one, but this was our first preview tag for our main event of Grand Princess 2-6. Arai and Miyu start out by doing a little bit of scouting against one another. Miyu certainly had the early control in chain wrestling. Mifu and Rika tag in. Mifu carries her pom-poms. She shakes them in Rika's face, briefly does some cheerleading. This just really upset Rika. Rika grabbed him, was choking her, suffocating her with these pom-poms. Arai jumped on in to help out, and the Kyoto tag locked in this they do this move that's they're doing the splits while also doing a Boston Crab. So they lock that in on Rika for a little bit. Rika's not down for long, though. We get the double elbow drop from Daydream onto Yuki Arai. Coming out of that, we get our second square off between Arai and Watanabe. Watanabe still getting the better of Arai. Rika tags in, works on the leg before slapping the figure 4 onto Arai. Miyu tags back in, tries to attempt the giant swing, but that is blocked by Yuki, but she gets met with a really nasty forearm to the face in the corner. Miyu goes and hits her swinging backbreaker. She tries to lock Arai in the Canadian backbreaker, but that is blocked. Arai is able to counter that into a Scorpion Deathlock. That's blocked by Watanabe, though, just really utilizing pure leg strength. She was back down on the mat, and Arai had her leg. She was like trying to lock it in, and Watanabe just stared at her and was like smiling, and she was like, "Yeah, you're not getting this in. My legs are too strong." It gave vibes that Watanabe is like certainly in control heading into this Grand Princess matchup. Just really dominating Arai in the early going here. Mifu and Rika come back in. Mifu briefly gets the better of Rika, but Watanabe tags in to help a little bit. She hits a really beautiful looking pop up giant swing. And then Rika kind of comes in out of nowhere and hits her missile hip as Watanabe is hitting the giant swing on Mifu. So that might have concussed Mifu, not legitimately, but just the way that that move was constructed. That was definitely an intense one. We see a batting hammer and a Canadian backbreaker from Miyu, but Arai comes on in to break up that Canadian backbreaker. Watanabe tosses her to the outside, but Arai hangs onto the apron, and we get this really cool moment where Miyu gets like a little distracted, and her and Arai just have this really neat stare down. Miyu is so distracted that she steps out to the apron, and they start fighting out on the apron, and that leads to Arai hitting a full Nelson Buster from the apron all the way to the floor, and that really had to hurt. Watanabe was like shook for the rest of the match. That really threw her off her game. As Miyu was trying to get back into the ring, there was this like really great camera shot of Arai kind of looking at Miyu through the corner post. It was just framed so good, and Arai was like, "You're not getting the better of me. Like, you have not seen what I have to offer you just yet. Like, I'm coming." It looked awesome. Back in the ring, all four ladies ended up going at it. Arai and Miyu have another stare down. Rika quickly takes Arai out with like a little bit of a sloppy looking twist of fate. That allows Miyu to hit a laser beam and a teardrop on Mifu to win the match in 17 minutes and 55 seconds. This was another match where the ending was like really rushed. It almost came out of nowhere, and they went home real fast. I wonder if they were out of time. This was the longest match on the card, or one of the longest matches on the card. So maybe they were running long and they got the cue to just send it home, and they just had to go for it. Backstage, Daydream discusses Arai's passion for the belt. Watanabe admits that she saw a new side of Arai today. Arai mentions that she was upset with the loss, but she does feel that she proved she belongs in the Princess of Princess title belt conversation. Rushed ending aside for this one, this was a killer match. It has really gotten me ready for Miyu and Arai, even after just one preview match. I hope we get more in the weeks to come. Texas might get in the way a little bit, but hey, perhaps we get a preview match in Texas. Both of them are slated to come on over for Texas Stampede. That would be incredible. But I am fully ready, fully ready. I am bought in now for Miyu and Arai. Their exchanges in this match were incredible. Watanabe had most of the control, and right when I think that, Arai was able to find a way to get that upper hand with this nasty full Nelson Buster to the floor. The intensity is certainly there. I think both of these women realize the magnitude of what they are up against with Grand Princess, and I think that they're ready to deliver. In our semifinal of this Korakuen Hall show, we had the International Princess title on the line. Mirai, in her very first defense, took on the challenger Toga. This was Toga's first challenge, and they had one preview match for this. Mirai picked up the victory for her team in that match. We got clean handshakes to start out, dueling chants from the crowd. Mirai starts out on the attack, working over the arm, trying to take away Toga's forearms. Toga muscles her way back into this one with a body slam, a rolling thunder, but she keeps selling that arm. Her arm was really hurting from Mirai's early attacks. They trade offense, mostly 50-50 of a matchup here. Mirai landing some power moves, keeping on the arm of Toga. Toga would then land some power moves and then immediately favor the arm that Mirai was targeting. Late in the match, Toga squirms out of a Mirai lock, but I think at that point the damage was already done. Mirai hits a Samoan drop for 2, and then hits a very strong lariat for the win and the defense of the International Princess title at 10 minutes and 24 seconds. Mirai grabbed the mic afterwards. She provided some words of encouragement to Toga, who had started to cry on her way out of the ring. Mirai then called out Suzume for Grand Princess. Suzume comes out, agrees to the fight, and vows to take the International Princess title back into TJPW off of this outsider who came back, or I guess alumni technically, but she wants to bring the belt back to TJPW. It was her main point. So we'll get a clash of genmates at Grand Princess for the International Princess title. Both Mirai and Suzume entered in the same generation. As I mentioned earlier today, they used to team together briefly as B-Star, so we will see a B-Star face-off. The match between Toga and Mirai I thought was fine. I think they had a really tough task to follow up two great tags, but they kept it simple with the power fighting, with the arm work. There were a little bit of backstage comments here as well. Toga said that Mirai's lariat completely turned the tide of the match. It was much stronger than she anticipated it to be, but she did say that she was refreshed by Mirai's words after the match, and she also felt that she did what she set out to do partially. Obviously, she wanted to win the title, but she also wanted to discover herself as a singles wrestler, and she felt she accomplished that. Mirai admitted that she is very excited to face Suzume. She said that was actually a goal for her way back when she debuted in TJPW. Suzume gave some comments as well. She mentioned just how close her and Mirai are since they are classmates, but she also brought up just how different both of them are nowadays. In our finals of the Max Heart Tournament Final Show, what else would we have than the Max Heart Finals? Uber Eats, the current Princess Tag Team Champions, took on Mizuki and Uda Takami. We did get a preview tag for this one. Uda was able to pick up a win for her team, so Uda and Mizuki have a 1-0 advantage heading in here. And it's worth noting, this was Uda's very first Korakuen Hall main event. We did get clean handshakes to start, which is surprising considering Mizuki and Kamiyu are in there. But Kamiyu actually decided to go for some eye pokes, but accidentally eye poked Wakana, which allowed Mizuki and Uda to get the upper hand to kick us off. Uda hits what I think was supposed to be a Hurricane Rana. It wasn't like super clean. Followed by Mizuki diving to the outside. They do the bit where Mizuki whips Uda into the corner at Wakana, but some miscommunication allows Uber Eats to kind of swing the tide in their favor. Basically, they employ their strategy of beating up Uda. That was what they wanted to do kind of heading into this matchup. Mizuki tags in, and Uber Eats is surprisingly able to remain on the attack while facing off against Mizuki. Mizuki is able to eventually dodge a big boot and hit a double stomp on Kamiyu in the ropes. She goes for a top rope move, but Kamiyu stops it and hits a really nice superplex. Mizuki finds a way to tag in Uda, who just brings the fire straight to Kamiyu, but that's pretty short-lived. Kamiyu has the size advantage here, so she really starts utilizing that to gain the upper hand. Wakana tags in, follows suit. Wakana and Uda then end up trading submissions, the banana pillow and the koala clutch. Kamiyu jumps in, though, to break up the koala clutch with this massive boot to Uda's face. She then hits a jumping leg drop onto Mizuki, and all four women are down in the ring. Kamiyu was the first to her feet, and she calls out for Mizuki. She wants Mizuki. She takes her out with a big boot, but here is Uda, who calls out both of Uber Eats. She wants both of Uber Eats. Mizuki and Uda's offense, though, is pretty short-lived as Uber Eats lock in dueling submissions. Things really break down at this point. Mizuki pushes Uda out of the way and eats a step-up big boot from Kamiyu. She manages to counter the double flapjack from Uber Eats into a double foot stomp. That was really cool looking. Uda then finds her way back in, slaps on the koala clutch, but Wakana counters it into a snap suplex, hits the sushi tornado, and pins Uda Takami in 14 minutes and 25 seconds. Immediately after this was over, Uber Eats shows their respect to Mizuki and Uda. They celebrate their victory. Kamiyu said that she wants a challenger for Grand Princess who is cooler and sexier and above Uber Eats in every way. We just might have that with the Iconics. Of course, we did not know the Iconics were going to be the tag team to challenge while this event was going down, but I certainly think they fit the bill of what Kamiyu is looking for. Backstage, Wakana admits that this was actually her first time of main eventing Korakuen Hall as well. Kamiyu gave praise to both Uda and Mizuki, and she says, feels a bit arrogant to name a challenger, so anyone is fine as long as they are, quote, stylish, cool, wonderful women. Again, think the Iconics fit that bill. Mizuki and Uda show respect to the champions. They say that teamwork and hard work got them much farther than anyone would have thought in this tournament, and they express desire to continue working together as a team. It kind of felt like the crowd was not expecting an Uber Eats win, but that being said, they weren't upset. They even started to chant for Uber Eats towards the end. This was definitely a newsworthy show with the Max Heart winners, the International Princess match that got set up for Grand Princess, Mihiro losing her title, unfortunately, Ren's first victory as well. I personally felt that the undercard tag matches, Shoko and Sarah versus Daisy Monkey, and then Daydream versus the Kyoto tag, I felt like that was where the show peaked. But that being said, the semi main and the main held their own too. But if you are strapped for time in this busy TJPW weekend, I have to recommend those two tag team matches for you to watch. And if all that wasn't enough wrestling for you, well, we have a third show to talk about today, TJPW Club X Chapter Pause. This event went down the very following day, Sunday, February 15th, from Club X at the Shinagawa Prince Hotel in Tokyo. This was also live on Wrestle Universe, came in just a little bit under 2 hours, no absences, and attendance here was a sellout. 285 people were in the building. TJPW ran Club X 5 times last year, so it is certainly a venue that they go to quite often. Attendance ranged anywhere from 223 all the way up to 335, so the 285 number more or less kind of like right in the middle of that. And remember, this is the final time for the foreseeable future that TJPW will be at Club X due to more of a long-standing performance rental that is taking place at that venue. So I think TJPW was a little bit bittersweet about that. A lot of the girls posted some nice just memories and different things about the venue. In the announcement, TJPW said that it might be a few years due to this like long-term residency that's taking place there. So it's going to be a short pause, hence the name here, Chapter Pause. We opened with Rise Shirai giving the remarks and the house rules. The Up girls sang Kawatsuyo Challenger, which I thought was a little interesting that they didn't sing Sugar High after debuting it the day before, but maybe they wanted to mix it up a little bit. We start off with a singles match. Toga took on Shion Kanzaki. Toga was in control for most of this. Shion had a few hope spots, but Toga was made to look really strong after her loss in the IP match the day before. Shion taps out to a face lock in 6 minutes and 12 seconds. Next up, we had a second singles match. Mihiro Kiryu took on Sarah Phoenix. Mihiro is actually bigger than Sarah. It was really interesting to see them line up face to face because Mihiro, I think, is a lot bigger, a lot taller than some people might expect. They start out with a test of strength, some shoulder blocks. Mihiro in English then thanks Sarah for coming to TJPW, and she very politely asks her, "How do you say sorry in Spanish?" And Sarah Phoenix says, "Oh, we say perdón." And Mihiro then says, "Gracias," and then kicks Sarah and apologizes in Spanish. I thought that was a pretty good bit. They take turns trading offense. Rise Shirai was actually giving the time callouts in Spanish, which I thought was a nice touch for Sarah. Sarah manages to get the upper hand, which Mihiro just begs her to stop. She says, "Perdón, perdón," again. But it's all a ruse. She kicks Sarah. The crowd starts booing Mihiro big time. Sarah kicks her back. Mihiro then apologizes again, but Sarah is just too smart. She is able to hit a top rope code breaker, pins Mihiro for the victory in 7 minutes and 40 seconds. Next up, we had an 8-woman tag that was billed as Max Heart after the final, basically designed for like a revisit to some of these matchups after the Max Heart took place. We saw the Bumping Gritters team up with Mizuki and Uda Takami to take on Mifu Ishida, Yuki Arai, Chika Nanase, and Kira Summer. The Kyoto pairing of Arai and Ishida actually have a victory over Bumping Gritters from the Max Heart tournament, and then on the flip side of it, Mizuki and Uda beat Chika and Kira in the tournament. Mizuki's team started out with kicks at the handshakes. Shino tried to give her tour guide spot while all 4 members are in their separate corners, but Arai's team able to swing the momentum in their favor. They take turns beating up on Uda. Uda had a heck of a run of shows here, really getting beaten up. They all basically like run at her in the corner while Mifu cheers them on. We get all sorts of combinations. Himawari and Kira Summer and Arai and Shino in particular were both pretty good pairings. Arai nearly hits the full Nelson Buster on Shino, but Himawari jumps in to put a stop to that, help out her tag team partner. That leads to a bunch of ladies in the ring all at once taking turns doing double team maneuvers. Shino manages to hit a belly to belly on Arai, locks in a sleeper hold, but Arai muscles out of that, connects with the full Nelson Buster with a little bit of help from Mifu Ishida, and then drops Shino with the spinning Brain Buster in 10 minutes and 2 seconds. There were no backstage comments for any of the matches on this show, so I'm kind of flying through a lot of these. Next up, another tag match, more of a traditional tag team match here. Daydream took on Prism Greed. And these traditional tag matches were billed as Max Heart Beyond the Bracket, so basically providing fans a chance to see a matchup that was not possible based on the seeding of the Max Heart tournament. Watanabe overpowers Haru to start us out. Haru tags in Aino for some double team action. They try to do the bit where they combine, but Rika runs in. She wants to combine with Miyu. Daydream can't quite get it to work. They're basically trying to play like that pool game chicken where somebody was on top of their shoulders. Daydream can't quite get it to work. Rika was really mad and she slapped Miyu in the face. What? Like, that was something I wasn't expecting. Maybe that's that inner madness coming out. She then runs over and breaks up Prism Greed's tower. Miyu is like a little shook, but Daydream eventually gets back on the same page. They take turns taking out their aggression on Haru. Aino and Miyu have a pretty nice exchange, reminiscent of their Princess of Princess title match from just a few short months ago. Down the stretch, Haru and Rika are slugging it out. They have a nice exchange as well. Haru actually locks in the Izayoi at one point. Things break down a little bit. Rika escapes an updraft overdrive attempt by choking Aino. Again, there's that madness. Daydream then hits stereo backbreakers and Haru taps out to a White Dragon sleeper at 11 minutes and 39 seconds. Following that one, another tag match, another one of these Beyond the Bracket matches. Palm Paler took on Daisy Monkey. One heck of a matchup on paper. This was Max's last stop on their current tour before they will return for Grand Princess in about a month's time or so. I think that Max has a movie to promote, and perhaps that's why they are headed back to the States for a little bit. But this one starts out with Suzume and Max, and oh boy, this was like watching a teenager attempt to fight a full-grown adult. Suzume just got tossed all around the ring, although it was not quite as bad as when Max tossed Uda around the ring in last year's Max Heart tournament. If you remember that crazy, crazy match. Palm tags in, hits a Den Den Daiko, and surprisingly has the upper hand. That's not often in a Palm Paler match. A fresh Arisu is able to tag on in, but Palm gets the better of her, but it's a little bit of a different strategy. She just screams in Arisu's face. Daisy Monkey try to use their speed to take down Max, but they're just too big. They hit a nice double team backdrop on both members of Daisy Monkey. That was a really nice maneuver from Max. Things break down. There's a lot of screaming from Palm. There's some Palm throwing from Max. Daisy Monkey takes Max out with a double drop kick, a super kick, and then a face buster and a knee strike off the top rope. So they really took it to Max here. That allows Suzume to hit the ring-a-bell on Palm and pick up the victory in 9 minutes and 1 second. I thought that one was a lot of fun. For our main event of Chapter Pause, we had another one of these after the final 8 women tags. Uber Eats teamed up with Kick Slash to take on Kiraku Kiyome and Raku and Ren Kanatsu. It's interesting because these are supposed to be not like rematches, but like revisits of some matchups from the tournament, and there's only one of them here as compared to 2 for the last after the final. Kick Slash defeated Kiraku Kiyome in the first round of the tournament. Misao has somewhat of a trend going here over these last few shows. She revealed the plan for this matchup prior to the other team making their entrance, and this one was a wild one. They decided that they are going to use Raku's sleep mask to block Kaya's vision. Of course, Kaya can only see out of the eye holes of the mask, so they're going to block Kaya's vision with Raku's sleep mask. They are going to wrap up Miyu Yamashita in the giant duvet that Raku brought out to the ring. Thankfully, Raku brought all these supplies with her. They decide to lure Wakana away from the ring using some bread. Ren brought some bread with her. lately on social media, Ren has been showing like her baking bread and other baked goods. So I guess she made some with this plan in mind, I suppose. But all of those three tasks would then leave Kamiyu alone for Misao to blind her with her cape. The first part of this plan was a great success. They were able to get the sleep mask on Kaya, the duvet onto Yamashita. They were able to lure Wakana away with the bread, and it was really funny. Rise Shirai was announcing Kick Slash, and both of them had no idea where they were because they were like blinded by these sleep supplies. I thought that was a nice touch. Uber Eats came out with their Max Heart trophies, which felt like a little bit unnecessary. Wakana followed the trail of bread all the way to the back, and then Misao attacked Kamiyu to kind of get this match underway. This is where the plan went off the rails, though, a little bit. Kamiyu easily removed the cape off of her head, started screaming at Yamashita for being under this duvet, even though it wasn't Yamashita's fault. This like really quickly became chaos with Misao's team attacking Kamiyu, hitting the Oyasumi Express. Kamiyu started abusing Ren for luring Wakana away. Wakana came like running back, apologizing, which was kind of funny. From there on, things get like a little bit more serious with a variety of different combinations. I want to single out Kaya Toribami and Shoko. Kind of reminded me of their MLW featherweight title match that they had in Japan, so really nice pairing there. Things break down towards the end of this one. A lot of miscommunication ensues. Yamashita ends up kicking Kamiyu, and then Kick Slash end up kicking each other. Ren goes for her new Swan Dive dropkick move. Kamiyu simply just moves out of the way, though, hits a very powerful dropkick of her own, and then locks in the octopus stretch to Ren. Ren taps out in 12 minutes and 41 seconds. Afterwards, Kamiyu and Miyu both praise each other. They have a little bit of a back and forth over those inadvertent kicks from Yamashita. Wakana also apologizes for eating all of the bread and running away. And Kaya was just confused at all the infighting because she was blindfolded for most of this, so she has no idea what the heck went down. You know, I don't think she's alone. I think a lot of people were confused by this one. All four of these ladies end up closing out this show. And overall, this was a little bit of like a come down show after yesterday's or the previous day's big Korakuen Hall event. That doesn't mean it was bad, though. The main event was pretty good. It was pretty entertaining. I thought the two like traditional tag matches were pretty good as well. But again, in a very busy couple of days, a lot of shows back to back to back here. Nothing is like really must see on this one if you are strapped for time. Well, with 3 shows basically in the matter of 1 week, TJPW is not slowing down anytime soon because they have 2 more shows this coming weekend. Final Curtain in Kobe Art Center will take place on Saturday, February 21st, and then we will see Love and Flame, The Burning Venus Returns on Sunday, February 22nd. That's Yuki Aino's homecoming show. We'll start with Final Curtain on Saturday the 21st from the Kobe Arts Center. This will be video on demand. Both of these shows actually will be video on demand. The Final Curtain in Kobe Arts Center is going up on Wrestle Universe on Tuesday the 24th. Both members of Kick Slash are going to be absent on both of these shows, in fact. Both of these members will be in Thailand defending their IWA Japan Setup Tag titles. In Setup Thailand, we'll talk about that in just a moment as we get to the excursions side of things, but no Yamashita, no Toribami this weekend. Now, in terms of matches for this one, I don't know if this is the match order that we'll see, but we will have 7 matches on this card. A 3-way match between Rika Tatsumi, Pam Harajuku, and Mihiro Kiryu. A singles match between Haru Kazushiro and Shion Kanzaki, running that one back from New Year Party just a few short weeks ago where Haru beat Shion. We'll see a tag match between Uber Eats, and they'll take on Kira Summer and Yuki Aino. Another tag match where Shoko Nakajima will team with Chika Nanase to take on Himawari and Yuki Arai. We will have a 6-woman tag. Raku will team with Ren Kanatsu and Aja Kong, who will be making an appearance on this Kobe Arts Center show. Those 3 will take on Mifu Ishida, Hyper Misao, and Sarah Phoenix. A little bit of an odd Aja Kong inclusion. I wonder if something is up with the Iron Man title in this one, perhaps, or maybe backstage later at this event. We'll then round out with 2 tag matches. The first, Miyu Watanabe and Shino Suzuki will team together to take on Uda Takami and Mizuki. So Mizuki and Uda, true to their word, will continue to tag team together. And then what I imagine will be the main event, the tag team of Mirai and Toga. So very quickly putting behind them any sort of hard feelings from their championship match a week ago. Those two will team up to take on Daisy Monkey. And this will be the first preview tag for the International Princess title match at Grand Princess 2-6 in March. So we got some outside guests here with Aja Kong and Mirai, which will be cool to see. We got that preview tag for the IP title. There's got to be something going on with the Iron Man title too. I'd be remiss to think that anything else for that. So this will be definitely an interesting show. Again, final curtain in the Kobe Arts Center. It will be taking place on Saturday, but will not be on Wrestle Universe until Tuesday the 24th. And then our other show this weekend is Yuki Aino's Homecoming show. On Sunday the 22nd, Love and Flame, The Burning Venus returns. This will be going down at the Okayama Mirai Hall. Again, this one video on demand as well. It's coming out on Wednesday the 25th. This is also a 7-match card. We'll see a 3-way match. Raku will take on Himawari and Ren Kanatsu. We will see a singles match between Palm Harajuku and Sarah Phoenix. That's a really interesting matchup. I'm kind of curious how they play that one. A second singles match on the show between Wakana Uehara and Chika Nanase. A third singles match actually here between Yuki Kamifuku and Shion Kanzaki. That's going to be a little fun, I think. We'll see a tag team match with the team of Hyper Misao and Shino Suzuki taking on Mihiro Kiryu and Suzume. This kind of, composition here makes me wonder if Misao is going to win the Iron Man title the day before from Aja Kong, and then she's paired up here in a match against Mihiro. Maybe Mihiro finds her way back to that title. Just a thought that I had. Perhaps Mihiro just wins it outright somehow the day before. But certainly keep your eyes on the Iron Man title this week. And then we will close out with 2 6-women tag team matches. I believe this will be the semi-main. Daydream will team with Kira Summer to take on the Kyoto tag team and Toga. So this will be our second Princess of Princess preview tag for that Grand Princess main event between Watanabe and Arai. Miyu does lead those preview tags 1-0. And then likely our main event, Aino's Homecoming. So we will see the Tojo Tokusatsu Club, Aino, Nakajima, and Kazushiro. Those 3 will team up to take on Mizuki, Uda Takami, and Arisu Endo. So not as big of a show here, although Aino celebrating her homecoming, and then we do have that second Princess of Princess preview tag, perhaps the Iron Man title as well. So another packed weekend from TJPW. Like I said, it just does not slow down. We have a 2-shot this weekend, but keep in mind these shows will not be available to watch until Tuesday and then Wednesday of the following week. We have talked so much wrestling on this show so far, so the only thing that's left for us is just to touch in on some of the excursions that are upcoming. We've been talking about quite a few of these over the last 2 weeks, so I'm going to really breeze through the majority of these. This weekend, though, marks one that we've had our eyes on. Saturday the 21st, Setup Thailand is running Real Global Impact. Kickslash is on that show. That's why they are absent from the Japan TJPW shows that same weekend. Kickslash are defending their IWA Japan Setup tag titles against Matcha and Monomath. So curious to see if they retain or if they lose those titles. This coming Tuesday, the 24th of February, at Baka Gaijin and Friends Volume 28, Big Beat from Badsville, we are finally going to see this highly anticipated Miyu Yamashita and Antonio Honda match. I cannot wait for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. In March, Yamashita is making her way out to Europe. On Friday, March 6th and Sunday, March 8th, she is wrestling in Pro Wrestling Eve. On the Friday show, she has a singles match against Jamie Hayter. That's going to be absolutely killer. We now know what her Sunday, March 8th matchup is going to be. She's in a bit of a scramble match, I guess you could say. Yamashita will take on Jamie Hayter, Dash Chisako, Amale, and Alexis Falcon. So very interesting matchup. I didn't know that Dash Chisako was also going to be on these Pro Wrestling Eve shows, so that's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know if Yamashita and Dash have ever crossed paths before. And then sandwiched in between, Yamashita will be heading over to Spain on Saturday the 7th for RCW Spain. We know her match there now as well. It is a singles match. Yamashita will take on Nightshade. So a busy weekend for Yamashita coming up in March. All really great matchups, though, that I'm looking forward to. Really a busy excursions. Basically, this whole excursions corner is about Yamashita. So a lot upcoming for Yamashita. Of course, we will recap these shows as they happen. I'll let you know how you can watch them if you are interested in checking any of them out. We don't have any major updates as it relates to Vegas. Keeping our eyes on that Pandemonium Pro Wrestling show with Sayuri Namba and Alexis Lee, the Pottermania show with Toga on it, and then the Bloodsport event with Miyu Yamashita on it. That is still all we know for the time being, but of course, as or if any additional announcements come out, we will of course be covering it here on the show. So we'll keep our ears to the ground, you keep your ears to the ground. If there's anything that I miss, because this is certainly a busy time really globally for TJPW. If there's a matchup that I miss that relates to any of the TJPW talent or alumni or maybe some, friendly players like a Max the Impaler or an Alexis Lee or something, drop me a line. Let me know. I'll chat about it on here. We'll cover it on the show. I am only human, right? So with all of the wrestling that goes on, something is bound to slip through the cracks. I have been talking for so long, that should probably just bring us to the end of this episode. So in addition to the cold spray and the ice packs, I am starving, so I'm going to grab myself some dinner. On next week's show, we'll review Final Curtain in Kobe Arts Center and Yuki Aino's Homecoming. We'll also preview First Sparkle in Ioi Hall. Texas Stampede and Grand Princess are inching closer and closer. I'm sure we'll have many more announcements on the horizon as well. I hope you enjoyed the show today. If you did, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss any future episodes. You can follow us at Tokyo Joshi Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and X. You can also email the show, tokyojoshipod@gmail.com. But above all else, remember to keep your hearts burning, stay magical, my friends, and we'll see you next week on the Tokyo Joshi Pod.